Hi everyone, how is everybody doing? I have gone and picked up Starbucks for this video because my coffee machine broke and I'm fuming about it, and I need some brain energy to really give you guys the best responses to these questions that I've had. I've had so many questions over the last few days since I got home from Australia. I'm back in Solihull now just for 6 weeks before I go back to Australia, but I had been living in Bali for 3 months. Then I travelled a bit of Thailand, Singapore, and then I moved to Sydney. I went and tried to do my farm work, and then I moved to the Gold Coast, and then I went back to Bali. So I've had quite a bit of experience now in Australia, Bali, moving there, what it's like, going solo, because everybody messages me like, well, I'm going solo so I'm scared, and I'm like, hun, so did I, and it is the best thing that you will ever do. So if this video persuades one person to book the flight, I will be very happy with that, and I hope that this video will help you if you are thinking of doing it. And yeah, I just want this video to just be like a bit of a chill chat. I feel like I've had conversations with my friends since I got home that, well, two of my best friends are a couple. They literally would never even dream of going travelling, and then I spoke to them the other day and now they're literally thinking of going and moving to Dubai because of how much travel just helps you grow as a person. It's just one of those experiences that money can't, well, obviously it does buy, but nothing comes close to travelling. Like, it's one of those experiences, and having an experience of living abroad, living with friends, it's like you either do it now when you're young or you do it when you have kids, you're settled down, you have responsibilities, so you must do it, you must get it out of the way. And I never thought like that for a long time, and then something clicked in me like last year clearly that I really wanted to go, and I'm so glad I did, because I've got home and nothing has changed. I kid you not, the only thing that's changed is my dad's painted his fence. Of course, people have made progress in their lives and their lives have changed and everything like that, but the worst thing that can happen if you go travelling is you just come back and everything is still the same. Yeah, you'll probably have a lot less money, but you'd rather go, make the mistakes, come home and say that you've done it, you tried it, than not go and think when you're like 40, look back and be like, I wish I went. No, that won't be me. Well, it won't be me now anyway, because I have. But anyway, I just want this video to be like a bit of a chill chat, not be preachy, although I am a bit of a preachy person and I do like to give life advice, so maybe I will just be a bit preachy, shall I? I have had so many questions like over the whole time of me going, and I don't want to think about them. I'm just going to answer the ones that I got on Instagram and leave it at that, and then if you have any more questions, please comment them below, message me on Instagram, I'll answer on a TikTok or something like that. But for now, I think I've got enough to keep me busy. I reckon I've got enough. Right, so let's start at the very beginning. Right, let's start with these. So I have a few off a lovely girl who messaged me saying that she's moving to Australia next year solo, and these are about Australia. So, do I recommend any tour companies? No, I don't recommend any tour companies because I didn't use any, I don't know of any, I didn't do anything like that. I planned everything myself, and you are more than capable of planning everything yourself. If you want to go on a tour, then I know loads of hostels that plan it for you because my friends have all done it and they said that it's way easier. But you can plan it yourself if you want to do your own trip. Like, you can book Greyhound buses all up the East Coast. So what most people do when they get to Australia is travel the East Coast, and so that is between Melbourne and Cairns. So Cairns is like here, Melbourne's down here, and they go all down the coast or up the coast, and I think you either go up or down depending on the time of year that you will go. So of course that's up to you when you want to go, but that's a good way as well to figure out where you want to live long term, because you're obviously stopping off in so many different places. They're all so different. Like, Cairns compared to Melbourne, different. Gold Coast compared to Sydney, so different, and you don't know that until you go and where you actually want to settle. Like, I went to Sydney, well, I went to everywhere on the East Coast, well, not everywhere but almost, and it just depends what kind of vibe you want. So that is a really good way to start off your trip. So get to Australia, travel the East Coast. Of course, that's very expensive. A lot of people will book this and they will get all their hostels, all their Greyhound buses and accommodation and stuff booked for them through a tour company, but you can go on the Greyhound website and book it all yourself. That's what I did. I did a little bit of like a mini East Coast tour. I didn't do the full East Coast because I just didn't have the time. Well, I did have the time, but you know what I mean. I was having a period off work for a few weeks where I started my regional work, and so I just planned like a mini trip. That is a good way to start your trip, and you can use tour companies, but I don't have any that I recommend, so I am sorry about that. Honestly, so many things that you do when you're traveling, like, don't listen to other people, don't even listen to me. Literally, I don't care if you don't listen to me, because if anything that is good, go out there, figure it out yourself, make a few mistakes. It's a learning experience. That's what it's all about. Like, that's where the fun is. So much of the information that I got online, now I look back on and I'm like, that was bullshit. That's not true. So much can change from when you watch this video and you go, or stuff might have changed from last December to now me doing this video. Like, even on visas, everything, you have to research it yourself, and of course you're watching this video for a reason, for a bit of advice. But I'm just saying, I don't think I watched any YouTube videos on moving to Australia. I just booked the flight, I sorted my visa out, I did my research on the government website, and I think that was it. I just winged it. I just went. So if you're doing loads of research and you're still feeling unconfident about your trip, trust me, you'll be fine. You will be fine. Anyway, next question. So what visa did I go over on, and how long did your visa take to get approved? So I went over on a working holiday visa for a year, and that got approved instantly. So I applied for it and an email came straight back. But this was last May, so May 2022. I don't know if it's like that anymore. In fact, I think it probably is. I know that they're giving visas to a lot of people at the moment. They want people to go over, and then you can do your second and third year working holiday. At the moment, you have to do your 88 days regional work to get the second year visa, but as of July 2024, you can do the 3 years without doing any regional work. Check on that before you take my information, because it changes all the time. But as of right now, that is correct. That also ties in with another question about, people say it's hard to find a job. What was it like for you, and where did you work? Did you have to do your 88 days? So I would have to do my 88 days if I want the second year visa. However, at the moment there is a COVID visa, and you can apply for that 90 days before your visa expires. So basically the Australian government are just giving people COVID visas because of the interruption to their travels, if they wanted to travel earlier, like if anything really to do with COVID has affected your travels, I assume. And so they're being a bit more less strict on giving visas out. So I'm going to try and apply for that. If I don't, then when my visa's up in December, I will have to leave and reapply for the second year visa next July, when the rule that I just mentioned comes in. I'm taking that risk because I went to try and do my farm work, and it was honestly, it was like the worst experience of my life, and I thought I hit the jackpot with this farm work because someone who I follow on social media had done it at this place. She said that it was really hard, but she got through it and she made loads of friends there, and absolutely that would probably be the case for like 87% of the people. And I know loads of people that have done it, they've loved it, and it's been absolutely fine. They've got their second year visa, it's all gravy, baby. However, my experience was not good. Me and Millie, my friend, went to Cairns to do ours, and we got there honestly thinking like, oh, this is gonna be great. This is like, we've hit the jackpot because we're doing hospitality, and I've worked in coffee shops, and Millie was gonna work on the bar, and we were like, this is a piece of piss, this is gonna be fine. So the first day we got there, I was straight in the cafe. That was fine, straight on the bar. But like, I mean, we got there and within like half an hour we was working, and that's fine. I'm happy to work, you know. But we didn't stop working at all that day, and then the next day we woke up, we were straight back to work all day. And then I was in the coffee shop. The girls that were in there were not nice. I didn't like them at all, not my type of people. Just, yeah. And I mean, I make a lovely coffee and I am very good with customers. I have no issues working in hospitality or anything like that. I'm 27, I've worked in restaurants, hotels, anything like that. I don't need to tell you my CV, but yeah, anyway, they sacked me from the coffee shop. They said that I wasn't good enough. So yeah. The day that they did that was the third day that we'd been there, and it was the morning, and I basically went to go do my shift, and she said that I like wasn't working there anymore and that I'd be put in the bar, and the bar was so rowdy there that I don't want to be working there. Also, the main reason that I hated it as well is not just because I didn't like the people there or because I got sacked from the coffee shop. It's because we was working such long hours, we didn't get a chance to go and eat. There was no time for us at all. Like, my mental health would have spiraled, and me and Millie just, it was the second day and we were like, this is really going to be mentally challenging. Like, unless you go and do farm work in a regional place, it's like you are in a different world and you just are so far away from normality that it blew our minds. Everyone there was racist, they were sexist. I got shouted at so many times by men because I didn't do anything bad. I just made like a little mistake. Like, I put a bottle in the wrong bin and a man shouted at me. Like, I've never experienced anything like it, and if it was anywhere else I would have turned around and told him to go and fuck himself. But we were there. I just didn't feel safe. We couldn't walk to the gym at night or by ourselves because we would get abused or sexually assaulted. Yeah, me and Millie was walking down the road as we had made our decision to leave, and we just got like shouted abuse at in the middle of the day. It was like a Wednesday morning and some men were going at her, and we were just like, we cannot live like this. This is not okay, and if I'm anywhere and I don't need to be in a situation, I will remove myself from there immediately. That is one thing about me, is I will just not take your shit, and I was not taking that shit. And I don't care about a second year visa if I had to live there for 3 months, because I would have walked out a very depressed person, and that is not something that I'm going to take lightly or give up my mental health for anything. I was like, I'm ready to go back to England if I have to stay here, because if you're doing your regional work, you're not really getting a second year visa, you're getting an extra 9-month visa, because you're giving up 3 months of your life, and then you have to do 6 months on that visa for the 3rd year visa. So until this rule has changed, it's not really giving you a bigger visa. But yeah, I know why they do it. There's arguments for and against, and I am against. But if you're going anyway now, it's August and you don't need to worry about farm work if you're from the UK. If you're not from the UK, check the rules. But this girl that's messaged me this, she's from the UK. You don't need to worry about it. Fucking hell, lucky you, eh? Lucky you. That is so lucky. Patrick is under there, by the way. If you see any movement, that's Patrick. Okay, that was a tangent, wasn't it? So next, is it hard to meet people out there? Like, I'm going with no plan really. Would like to meet some people and travel with them, but not sure if people are up for that. Oh my god, everyone there is up for that. Everyone goes to Australia like to travel and meet people and go up the east coast and everything. You will be absolutely shocked at the amount of people that do it, because before I left I was like, I know like 2 or 3 people that have done it in my like past year's experience, like friends from school and stuff that have done it. Literally know barely anyone. But when you go there, everyone is doing it. Everyone's from different places. You'll meet the most amazing people. Just make sure when you go that you go to hostels, you join groups like Facebook groups. There's one in Sydney called Lost and Found in Sydney, and they do a lot of, my watch has just reminded me to do some mindfulness. Must do that after this video. Keep on top of my mental health after the farm work. But anyway, yeah, there's so many groups. What was I saying? There's so many groups, like Facebook groups. There's one on Instagram called Lost and Found in Sydney, and she does a lot of meetups. I met one of my really good friends at one of those meetups. I met Millie off TikTok. Like, go on TikToks and just say, hello, do you want to go for a coffee? People underestimate the power of reaching out to people, just sending a message like, hi, do you want to go for a coffee? It sounds really silly, but just do that, because I would never do that in England, right? If I wanted to be someone's mate, I probably would know me, because I'm a bit weird, aren't I? But you wouldn't just message someone like, do you want to go out? Do you want to go watch sunrise? Obviously not here, because does anyone do that? However, in Australia, that is normal to reach out to people, make friends, because everyone is on their own. Well, not everyone, but most people are. Like, there's a lot of people solo traveling and everyone wants to make friends. If you're worried about making friends, please don't worry about that. You'll make friends when you find a job, working, when you get wherever you're gonna live, in hostels, going to the coffee shop. The amount of friends I've made in gyms, coffee shops, like, I've actually probably made about 300 friends in the last year. I'm not even joking. I did actually write a list on my notes, put a star next to everyone that I'd actually had dinner with, and that was how I was classing them as a good friend. Like, if I've gone for a meal with them, that makes them a friend and not just like an acquaintance. And there was hundreds. Like, you will make friends even in Bali. Like, I sat down next to this guy and he asked me what drink I was having, and then we went out for dinner like for a few nights in a row. We went to a bar and played cards. I didn't even particularly like him that much, but we had the same experiences. We were both solo traveling. We just had a good time. Haven't seen him since. Don't really know anything about his life, but that is just like one of those little cool things. I really enjoyed spending time with him at the time, because you're getting to know someone from a whole different country, culture, their experiences, what they're doing, and it opens you up to like so many new experiences. In Bali, when I was going to Wonderlust, the like fitness place, I would just sit in the ice baths and meet so many people, and it's crazy the opportunities, the experiences that people have had that you have no idea. And it really shows you the life out there that you can have, that you can't experience till you go traveling and you meet someone from like Moldova in the ice bath. I met a girl from Moldova in the ice bath. She gave me business coaching and she gave me so much good advice, and she was lovely. I would not have had that experience sat in my bedroom at home in Solihull or going to the coffee shop in Solihull. No way. And that was just one little thing that happened like 2 weeks ago, so it's from memory, but so many things like that have happened, and traveling is literally like the best education that you could have. Patty, are you okay? What are you doing under that blanket? Anyway, I'm really getting out of breath here. If I stayed in hostels, which ones would I recommend? So I stayed in one in Sydney called Pacific House. Oh, somebody's in my house, I think. Someone's at my door. Right, sorry about that. The plumber came to measure up the shed in the garden. Anyway, the last question was about hostels and what ones that I recommend. So I stayed in Pacific House in Sydney when I first arrived, before moving into an Easy Rent in Sydney. I'll answer the hostels bit and then I'll go on to Easy Rent after, and accommodation. So the other hostels that I stayed in that I recommend is Bounce in Noosa, and Wake Up in Byron Bay, and Space in Melbourne. They're the only hostels that I stayed in and recommend. The others, there's a couple, don't recommend them, so I'm just not gonna mention them. So moving on from that, on accommodation and what Easy Rent is in Sydney and how to find somewhere to live. So when I got to Sydney, there was a few ways of finding accommodation, and that was Easy Rent or going on Facebook groups or Flatmate. Flatmates is really good in Australia. So there's a Facebook group called Irish in Sydney. There's a few others like accommodation in Sydney, or wherever you're looking to go, just put that in Facebook and you will probably find something where people are subletting their apartments and you can go and stay there for like a month, 2 months, even a week. That's how a lot of my friends found their accommodation. However, I found mine on a thing called Easy Rent, which is no longer a thing, so it's not going to help you now, but at the time you could basically move into somebody's house while they were going away, kind of thing, and so you were just covering their rent. And that's like a big thing in Australia, which I never thought of. I didn't even know it existed, so unless you've been, you won't know that this thing exists where people are renting their rooms out or their place while they go on holiday. Like in England you would never do that. Say if my mum and dad were going away for a week, they'd never put their house on Facebook Marketplace for a week, would they, to like cover the mortgage? That's ridiculous. But in Australia, that is a thing. So people want to travel. Well, I assume everyone wants to travel in the world, but For example, Neve and Brian, when I lived with them, I lived with an Irish couple. They were so lovely, and I went and stayed in their spare room for 6 weeks. So they wanted to go on holiday, and so they just put their spare room up for rent to me for 6 weeks. So I paid them $4.50 a week. That was obviously like their holiday spending money, and then after that they just didn't rent it out again. That is just their way of saving. If like my mum and dad was to rent my bedroom out so they could save some money for a holiday, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. But another girl that I stayed in her house for 4 weeks, she was coming back to England for Christmas, and so I just moved into her apartment in her bedroom and I paid her rent for 4 weeks. And that happens so much in Australia, like so common for people to sublet. I don't know if it's like illegal in England or something, but in Australia you can do that. Everyone does it. Finding a room is not easy, but you can do it. Yeah, so just get to the place that you want to go and go on Facebook groups, chat to people, ask them, have you got a room? Have you got any friends that want to rent out their room for like 3 weeks, 3 months, however long you want? I remember when I like basically got kicked out of one of my apartments because it was just a drama. Basically I underpaid her on the rent because the estate agent people, not estate agent, but the people managing it told me to, because the Wi-Fi wasn't working. Anyway, she kicked me out. Whatever, happened for the best in the end, because I'm really glad I left there. But when that happened, I had nowhere to live, and so at the time I was working in a coffee shop, and I just went in there and I was like, guys, does anybody know anyone renting a room? Have you all got any rooms that you want to rent? And shock, they knew. They had places for me to go, people for me to contact. One of the women even had a really good deal on like a 2-bedroom apartment, which just didn't match up with my dates. But that's how you get all of these like deals, rooms, speaking to people. What did I do about my phone and SIM card? Sorry, I've gotten that up here. So I just paid my phone contract off, which was like £500. Very annoying, but one of the costs of leaving. And I just got a new SIM card in Australia. When I got to the airport, I just walked out of where you get your luggage, and there's like a Vodafone, an Optus and Telsim, and I just set it up there. So easy, so simple. I also sold my car before I left. I got rid of everything. Yeah, that was the plan. Did you have to tell HMRC and or student finance about going travelling? I didn't tell HMRC because I do my tax returns still anyway. I'm still a UK taxpayer. I still have income in the UK, so I'm going forwards with my tax returns as normal. So they will find out when I do that. But student finance I did have to tell, because you have to let student finance know if you're going to be leaving the country for more than 3 months. If you're going for like 2.5 months, you don't have to tell them. But if you are living overseas for more than 3 months, you must tell them. Just ring them up and tell them, and then you fill out a form online which takes like 4 minutes. You do have to give them evidence of how you're going to support yourself, whether that's through savings or a job offer. I didn't have a job offer because I obviously didn't have a job, but I screenshot my savings, my bank statements. Yeah, that was fine. How did you find a place? I'm moving to Gold Coast soon. Is it hard? So in the Gold Coast, I actually used a real estate agent, which was Ray White, which I wouldn't recommend if you don't need to, and if you can sublet off someone, because if you are renting and getting a lease, landlords will fuck you over and they will want your bond. Because me and Millie left our apartment in absolute pristine condition. Like, we had this beautiful pink apartment in Miami, which we honestly hit the jackpot with. It was amazing. However, when we've left, the estate agents have just pulled up on every single thing that isn't even true. Like, they've told us that we've damaged stuff, which we have not. We've sent photos of how it was when we arrived, and they're still trying to get our bond. And I've spoken to a few Australians since this has happened, and they have told me that it happens all the time. Like, this is a trend. If you leave it in perfect condition, they'll still want your bond. So I will not be renting off an estate agent anytime soon or going through the whole leasing process, because although we was really lucky to get that, like, they even accepted our offers on this apartment when we both didn't have a job or anything. So I don't even know how that happened, but it proves that it is possible, because everyone told us that you couldn't rent an apartment if you didn't have a job, or they just told us that it would literally be impossible for us to get it because we're traveling, we're not from Australia, the rental market's crazy. But yeah, we got it. But anyway, probably wouldn't recommend that. Would always recommend subletting short term, yeah, because they will fuck you over. Anyway, The rest of the questions are all about how I afforded it, can you save a lot of money, how much would you recommend taking to not stress about finding a job quick. So this will be the last question, and then if you have any more I will answer in a different video. It depends on how you're going over. If you're going over with a job, if you're not going over with a job, say you're going over because you've been sponsored because you work in recruitment and you're gonna have a lot of money coming in. Of course you don't need to worry about taking a lot of money, but if you're going and traveling straight off the bat, I would say, well, the amount that you should have and that you need to enter Australia, I think is 5,000 Australian dollars, which is like £3,000. Don't know if that's right calculation, but honestly, if you're going traveling and then you need to find an apartment to live in after and you're going to live there for like a year, I would take at least £10,000, because you don't want to spend your time there worrying. Like, I met a girl and she's so lovely, and she was 23 and she didn't take a lot of money, and she'd been travelling, and then after her travels she decided to settle in the Gold Coast, and she'd spent all of her money. She was stressed about finding somewhere to live, she was stressed about getting a job, because most people on working holiday visas get jobs that are casual and you will not get a lot of hours. I know I'm speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for a lot of people that I know, and it's really quite hard to find a job that you can earn good money off. Like, people get lucky, they can work in the mines, you can work in something specific to you. Like, if you're an accountant, you've hit the jackpot. But if you're going over there and you don't have anything specific that you want to do, I didn't want to have a full-time job because I just wanted to travel, live my life, and I just wanted to work like 25 hours a week max. So I just worked in a coffee shop, which I absolutely loved, by the way. But the people that I met there, when they didn't have a lot of money, it was very stressful, and that's not what you want your experience in Australia to be. She was crying, she was just stressed about money, and it really can be stressful, and nobody talks about how hard it is finding a job there, how hard it is to find accommodation, and if you don't have those things, your mental health spirals. And she was thinking about going home even though she loved it, just because of her money situation. So it's better to go with too much and be prepared. But I just realised that I didn't actually speak about getting a job then, did I, earlier, about the 88 days. So yeah, it is hard to get a job. Like, it's not easy. If you can go there with a job offer, that is honestly the best thing that you could possibly do. And that really is so good, because the amount of people that are there travelling and going into places and handing their CVs, it's really tough. When I was working at the restaurant where I was assistant manager, we had people coming in every single day handing their CVs in, and because I was on the other side of it, I was like, I've been here before, going in and speaking to people and asking them for jobs, and now I'm on the other side because I'm the person hiring. And it really is fucked, and it's like a cutthroat pace, because people would come in after I'd had all this experience of it, and I'd be so sorry to them, because I'd be like, we can't hire you, you don't have experience. People would tell me that they'd make really good coffee, they'd come on a trial and they can't, because they're desperate for a job. And I've been there and I'm like, I know your situation, I don't feel bad, but you can't hire everyone. There was another girl who started and she wasn't that good. Like, she just wasn't really good with customers, didn't really know what she was doing, and I just had to tell her, and she was fine in the end, and she like sorted her shit out. I think she was having a rough time. Yeah, it's competitive. Like, the best thing you can do is go with loads of experience. Even just going into coffee shops, like, I really had to try for my job in a coffee shop, and it is degrading, and you feel like you're never gonna have to try hard to get a coffee shop job again in your life. And I really had to put some graft in, had to really sell myself for the first job that I got there. I had to offer to do social media. He took advantage of me because he could, because I needed the money and I needed to pay my rent. and that's what will happen. So just be prepared. Can you really save a lot of money? If you have a really good job, yeah. If you don't, probably not. I don't know many people that have saved a lot of money that have been in my situation anyway, that have gone and just done a normal job, paid their rent and everything. I don't know many people that have saved a lot of money. It depends how good you are with money. I'm good with money on some things, but then some things I'm not. Like, I will happily spend £1,000 on something and then moan about spending £3 on the train. Like, I'm that kind of person, but it just depends on your spending habits, to be honest. And let's talk about what I spent, shall we? Let's make it juicy. So how do you afford it? Please and thank you, they said. Please and thank you. Thank you very much. So I have said this to my friends that worked in the coffee shop with me, because one of them was a 20-year-old girl and she said that I was rich. She said, Becky, how are you so rich? Like, you always have money for things, you go out all the time. I was thinking of buying a car, and she was like, how do you just have spare money to buy a car? And I was like, her name's Lily. I was like, Lily, you're 20, you're forgetting that I am 7 years older than you. In the least patronising way, but I have had a lot more time to save money, and I worked 4 jobs, well 3-4 jobs while I was at uni for 4 years. Before that I've always had multiple jobs, and I think I've only had like 1 job in the last 10 years. One year in the past 10 years that I've only had 1 job. Every other year I've had multiple jobs. I've saved a lot of money, so that's one thing. Also, Lily, who didn't have much money compared to me, she had been living by herself since she was like 16, so for 4 years she'd been paying rent. I didn't pay rent until I was about 22, and I didn't even pay that much. It was to my mum and dad, so I've saved so much money in that sense. And by the way, I am so lucky for that. I'm not like boasting or anything, I'm just telling you how I've afforded it. That is just simply the case. So that, you know, one way I've saved enough money. Also, I own a house here in the UK, so I rent that out and I get the money from that every single month. I usually religiously save that every single month, but since I left I have been using that to support me. So that's one thing. So I bought that house like 3 or 4 years ago. I've had that income the whole time. Another thing, if you're thinking of going travelling and then coming home and buying a house, and you're going to go travelling and save money there and come back, I honestly think that you should buy a house first and then go travelling and rent it out and use that money to go travelling, because it's such an easier way. It's so much harder if you come home and then buy a house. And also, like, are you going to save that much money? I don't know, but that's just from my experience the best way to do it, and it's helped me out so much doing that. Another way I guess I've been living quite lavishly is I actually carried on working for the company that I worked for in the UK last year in Bali for almost the whole time I was there, so I was still getting paid for that. So if you want to go travelling, ask your company that you already work for if you can just work online for them, even if it's reduced hours. It was reduced hours for me, but I still had that little bit of income, you know, so you just don't feel like you're splashing out on all of your savings. Like, at least you've got a bit of money coming in, it just makes you feel better. And then obviously I got jobs. Like, although I haven't worked that much this year, I've been working like 25 hours for most of the months I've been gone, if not full time. And then I am just good with money. Like, I have a few little things where I make like £50 a month. Like, I do my dad's social media for £50 a month. Like, that £50 a month makes a difference, you know? Yeah, I have some stocks and shares and index funds and stuff like that. That makes me the tiniest bit of money. But yeah, just honestly, wing it with money. The amount of times I've worried about money, I worry about money all the time. And then something happens and money comes back to me. And if I'm feeling broke, which I've never been even near to broke recently, but I just worry about it, something happens and I get money. It's like a lucky girl manifestation thing that I'm confident in myself that I will always be okay. If I'm worried about something, it's gonna work out, it's gonna be fine. I was so worried about coming home and not having an income for 7 weeks, and my dad just said that I can work for him for a few days a week. It's fine, it will work out. something will happen, you'll figure it out. You've just got to trust the process. You've just got to trust the universe that you will be fine. I know that's really hard to say when you're having a shit time, you don't have a job, and I've been there. I quit my job in the Gold Coast. I just didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't earning any money. I felt like I was standstill. It's awful as well when you're like spending money constantly, nothing's coming in, and then you feel like you're not going to get a job, and then you're like, I need to book a flight home. Like, no, don't book the flight home, just keep trying. I didn't get a job once, and then I went and like handed my CV into like 2 or 3 different places, and the next day I got the job as assistant manager when I was just applying for barista before. Like, you will work it out. Just trust yourself, and that is the main thing that I've learned in this whole experience, is to trust yourself, trust what you can do, trust what you can provide other people. Like, you've gone traveling by yourself, you are an amazing human being for doing that. You're so brave, and you can literally do anything. Like, from this experience, I can bloody do anything. It's such an experience that will make you grow as a person. It's unbelievable. Anyway, on that note, so I worked out the other day how much I spent the whole year that I was travelling, and it was around £30,000. So I worked that out by my bank balance when I left the UK last August, and what it is now, and how much I've earned in that time. So that's how much I spent. I spent about 30 grand, which sounds ridiculous and sounds like a lot. However, when you actually think about it, that's like the average salary in the UK, and if you don't save any money, which a lot of people, you know, go their whole existence without saving any money and just living off their salary every year, that's a pretty normal amount to spend every year, especially when you're traveling the world, buying flights, putting down apartment deposit, booking my flight home. My flight home was 2 grand, so that takes me down to 28 without that. I definitely have spent lavishly. I don't like scrimp and save on most things, but equally I do try and save on some things. I mean, I've bought so many flights, like the flight out of farm work, I spent a ridiculous amount that week because I just wanted to get out. Like, we'd already paid for our accommodation, we just lost that because we left. Like, there's so many things that you lose money on when you're gone, and it's like so frustrating. Like, I think I've lost the bond for the last apartment. That was £750. It's probably gone now because they're just being idiots. And there's so many things like that. But with saying that, I didn't earn that much last year. Like I said, I worked like 6 months max. So if I was working for the whole year, spending 30 grand actually is absolutely fine, because I would have earned more than that and I would have been able to save more. And also, I'm not traveling the world my whole life. I plan to go back to Australia and settle down, potentially save a bit of money. But if I don't for a few years, who cares? I'm young, I'm living my absolute best life. I have done the things that I wanted to before I left, like buying a house, and you're just never going to get this experience again. I'm definitely never going to have an experience where like I'm single and no kids and no responsibilities ever again. I hope not anyway. Like, I'd like to go back to Australia and have some form of solid home at least, or relationship maybe, I don't know. And that brings me on to my last question, which is what is next for me. And I'm going back to Australia on the 2nd of October. I'm going to go to Sydney, apply for my COVID visa, see how that goes, and then if that goes well, I'm gonna move to Perth because I've never been there. I really want to experience Western Australia. I've heard it's amazing, so a fresh new start all over again, because I just love a fresh start. Clearly, I just love going out there by myself. My mum and dad think I'm absolutely crazy, and they're like, how can you just go somewhere with nowhere to live and no job? And I'm like, that's so fun, because you go out and you figure it out for yourself, and then it's like, I can do anything. It's amazing. But if I don't get my COVID visa, then I potentially won't have a visa after December, and I need to think about that. Maybe I'll move to New Zealand. I don't know what I'll do. You'll have to stay tuned. You'll have to stay tuned, I guess. That is all for now. I think that's the only questions I can possibly do. My mouth is going dry. I need another coffee. But I hope that this video helped. Please put any questions you have below, and I will... Yeah, if you are going travelling, you are going to have the absolute best time ever. Oh, I should have just put the camera here, and then I wouldn't have been hurting my legs all this time, sitting on them. I am sat on my bedroom floor. Don't know why I did that. But thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on TikTok because I do loads of videos on Australia and moving there, how I've been dealing with being homesick, all of that. Thank you for watching. Bye.